Today, I will be predicting the playoffs. The NFL playoffs are finally here, and we now have 14 teams locked in to have a chance to claim the most glorious prize in American sports history. Who will win the NFC? Who will win the AFC? Who will win the Super Bowl? So many questions, and I have all the answers. Before we start this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more NFL content. Let's start off with the NFC. The first game being played is the second seed 49ers versus 7th seed Seahawks. The Niners and Seahawks are obviously division rivals and played twice this year. Both games, the Niners destroyed Seattle. In week 2, the 49ers won 27-7 whilst holding the Seahawks to just 38 rushing yards, whilst the Niners rushed for 189. The Seahawks also failed to get close to the red zone, as the 7 points they scored happened to be from a blocked field goal that was returned for a touchdown. The Seahawks failed to score in the first half and not once led the game. When they matched up again in week 15, the story was basically the same. Thursday Night Football and a 49ers win to clinch the division, and so they did. The 49ers defense held Seattle to just 3 points in the first half and 13 points in total. They had no answer for Kittle, who had 93 yards and 2 touchdowns. There's always a stigma of if you beat a team twice, you won't beat them 3 times. It happened to the 49ers last year when they swept the Rams and lost them in the playoffs. However, both of these games were pure domination from San Francisco, and I can't see Seattle winning this game away. After all, the Seahawks went through a period of time where they lost 4 out of the last 5 games, and their last 2 wins of the season were against the sorry Jets and a Baker-led LA Rams, which, by the way, they almost lost. With that being said, I have San Francisco taking care of business at home and moving on to the divisional. The next game lined up for the NFC is the Vikings versus the Giants on Sunday. This is going to be a very close game. The last time these two teams played, the Vikings won off a 61-yard walk-off field goal by Greg Joseph. It was also the game in which Justin Jefferson passed Randy Moss to set the Vikings' new single-season receiving yard record. They had no answer for Justin Jefferson and no answer for TJ Hawkinson, as he even had himself a 100-yard game along with 2 touchdowns. Now, it would be such a Vikings thing to do to go 13-4 and lose in the first round. However, when comparing these two teams, I just can't see a way that the Giants win this game. Don't get me wrong, the Vikings defense absolutely sucks. They even finished with a negative point differential and gave up the 3rd most points in the league. However, the Giants don't have any wide receiver power, and their secondary is probably one of the worst in the league. After all, the Giants had the least interceptions in the league this year. I would want to see the Giants win, however, I do think the Cinderella story is coming to an end, which means I now have the Vikings matching up with the 49ers in the divisional. As for the last game in the NFC bracket, the Bucs host the Cowboys on Monday night. Just like the other 2 matchups we discussed, the Bucs and Cowboys also happen to play each other this season. In fact, it was the first game of the season. However, the Cowboys offense could not get anything going whatsoever. Their only point scored in this game was a 51-yard first quarter field goal by Brett Maher, as the Cowboys went scoreless in the next 3 quarters. Dak Prescott also went a horrific 14 for 29 with throwing an interception before injuring his hand. However, again, this game was week 1. So a lot has changed. The Bucs have been brutal this season, especially in the red zone. I mean, this team cannot score touchdowns. However, on the Cowboys side, Dak Prescott has been pretty underwhelming. Last game against the Commanders, he threw for 14 for 37, whilst also throwing a pick 6. I mean, that's a 38% completion percentage. Dak has been underwhelming, shows no consistency, and this is a Cowboys team that chokes in January. The Bucs have not been good. However, I'm taking Brady in this playoff game, which means for the NFC divisional, I have the Eagles hosting the Bucs and the Niners hosting the Vikings. We'll come back to that bracket, however, let's move on to the AFC for now. Starting off with the first AFC playoff game is the Jags hosting the Chargers on Saturday night. This is going to be a very entertaining game, and quite frankly, I'm pretty excited. Justin Herbert versus Trevor Lawrence, a new era of football, and I am all for it. This will be both quarterbacks' first ever playoff game, and one of them is ending in a win. Trevor Lawrence hasn't been great the past 2 weeks, and at glance, you'd probably agree that Herbert is better than Lawrence. However, if you dive deeper into statistics, Trevor isn't far off. They both ended the year with 25 touchdowns, and Trevor actually had less interceptions. Justin had a substantial more amount of yards. However, Trevor had more yards per attempt. Now, the Jags and Chargers already faced this year with the Jags absolutely blowing them out the water 38-10. Justin Herbert threw for 55%, an interception, and a fumble. Now, granted, he was banged up going into this game and didn't have Mike Williams or Keenan Allen. However, the Jags defense right now is hot, as they haven't let up more than 16 points the past 3 weeks and even forced a fumble to clinch the division as they returned it for a touchdown. On the other side of the ball, Trevor Lawrence was cooking against the Chargers as he threw 28 for 39, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. That game also took place in LA at SoFi Stadium. Meanwhile, this playoff game takes place in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence has proven to be pretty clutch in college, and with the Jags being red hot, winning 5 games straight to even be in the playoffs, I'm predicting an upset in what I'm going to claim to be the most entertaining game this weekend, which means I have the Jags moving on to the divisional. The next game for the AFC bracket is the Bills hosting the Dolphins at 1 p.m. on Sunday. Division rivals who have obviously faced this year splitting the series. Both games were very, very close and came down to the last possession. However, a lot has changed for the Dolphins since. The Dolphins have lost 5 out of the last 6 games and were at the brink of being eliminated from the playoffs before they beat the Jets 11-6. However, the Jets have been just as bad as they ended the season losing 6 straight. I don't believe Tua is playing. However, even if he is, he won't be 100% ready as he hasn't played in nearly 3 weeks. It's not a surprise, but I'm going to be picking the Bills to win this game. As for the last AFC game, which is taking place on Sunday night with the Bengals hosting the Ravens, again, another division rival matchup as they split the series this year. However, Lamar didn't play last week and the Ravens lost to the Bengals. When Lamar did play, the Ravens came on top and he is expected to play this game. However, I can't see Lamar coming back after missing 6 weeks and winning a playoff game against the Bengals, who have won 8 straight games. The Ravens' offense has been brutal as they haven't put up more than 17 points since Week 12 and haven't won a game scoring more than 17 points since Week 9. Again, the Bengals have been red hot and I'm taking playoff Burrow over playoff Lamar 9 times out of 10. Which means for my AFC matchups, I have the Bills playing the Bengals and the Chiefs hosting the Jags. Now, it's quite ironic how I have all the home teams winning the wildcard round. However, the Jags and Bugs are considered underdogs, so I'd like to think I have some upsets in there. But moving back to the NFC bracket, Nick Sirianni stated that Jalen Hurts was hurting bad in his return game versus the Giants. We often see teams with the 1 seed fail to get the job done in the playoffs, as both the Titans and Packers actually lost in the first round last year whilst being the first seed. The Bucs also beat Philly in the playoffs last year. Although Philly is a completely different team with a banged-up Hurts and a mission-ready Brady, I can see a Tampa Bay upset occur. This is Brady's first ever starting season with a losing record. He's always gone in the playoffs with the expectation of making it to the Super Bowl. However, this year, all eyes are off of him. We are now about to see the first ever Tom Brady underdog run, and yes, Tampa have been brutal this season. However, we can all agree that they do have the pieces to go on an underdog run. If there's going to be a team that can outduel Philly's secondary, it's the Bucs. They have Mike Evans, who just became the first player to obtain 1,000 yards consecutively in his first 9 seasons, Chris Godwin, who on his day is the best receiver on that team, Julio Jones, which if he does play is always a problem in the playoffs, and even players like Russell Gage, Scotty Miller, Leonard Fournette, Rachaad White. All these players are capable of making big plays when Tampa needs to. Oh, and they also have Tom Brady, who at the end of the day is Tom Brady. One of the narratives this season has been how big of a turnaround the NFC East has had. However, I have the Giants, Cowboys, and Eagles all not winning a playoff game this year and going back down to reality. A lot of you may not like the upset of Tampa being Philly. However, they're definitely capable of doing so, and anything could happen in the playoffs. As for the other divisional game with the 49ers facing the Vikings, I expect this to be a very good game. If it's going to be a blowout, it's going to be the 49ers blowing out the Vikings. The Vikings have been blown out by the Cowboys this year, Packers, and even Philly. But after all, 11 of the Vikings games this year have come down to just a 1-score game, so it's not far off to say that this game will come down to the wire. Now, the question is, who is going to come up clutch? If you ask the quarterbacks, Kirk Cousins does not do well in the clutch. He got mucked by Philly's defense this year, throwing 3 picks and only scoring 7 points. He also got mucked by the Cowboys defense this year, throwing 52%, losing a fumble, and putting up a whopping 3 points. Now, Dallas and Philly both have very strong defenses. However, the 49ers have the number 1 ranked defense in the NFL, and if Kirk Cousins couldn't put up more than 7 points against Philly and Dallas, I think it's safe to say that this guy is going to struggle against this San Francisco defense. Kirk did get the job done against the Bills. However, he still threw 2 picks. The 49ers led the league this year in interceptions, and with Kirk Cousins throwing interceptions in every big game he plays, this 49ers defense is bound to force some turnovers. And we all know that turnovers are huge in playoff games. Meanwhile, for the 49ers quarterback, Purdy hasn't lost a game in his NFL career, and the Vikings defense stinks pretty bad, which we already covered earlier in this video. Purdy doesn't even need to put on a show for the 49ers to win games and destroy defenses. San Francisco has also only lost 1 home game all season, which was to the Chiefs. The 49ers at home should take care of the Vikings and move on to the NFC Championship, in which they would play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I'm predicting a Brady vs. Purdy NFC Championship game. You'd expect Brady to beat the rookie here. However, they've already played this season and the game wasn't even close. And I'm not even over-exaggerating, it was not even close. The game ended 35-7 for the 49ers. The 49ers were up 28-0. Brady threw 2 picks, with Purdy throwing 2 touchdowns and McCaffrey rushing for over 100 yards. The 49ers defense is too strong, and their offense had 0 problems with the Bucs defense this year. Again, San Francisco at home, and I'd expect them to beat the Bucs here with Brady passing down the torch to Purdy. Moving back to the AFC side of things, the Chiefs coming off a bye should absolutely rock the Jags. Mahomes hasn't lost a divisional playoff game, and I can't see the Jags stumping Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes. They also faced this year already, with Mahomes throwing for 4 touchdowns in a Chiefs victory. It will be a tough trip for Jacksonville as they go from playing in warm Florida weather to KC weather, and I believe the Jags Cinderella story will end from the hands of MVP Patrick Mahomes. As for the Bills-Bengals game, this game will be a neutral site following the suspension of their matchup in Week 17. This is definitely the hardest game to predict as it could literally go either way. Both teams are more than capable of winning this game, and both quarterbacks are more than capable of putting on an absolute show to lead their team to victory. Honestly, I'm going to put numbers aside and go with my gut feeling. My gut feeling tells me that the Bills will defeat the Bengals and the Damar Hamlin story will come around full circle. I also think the Bills will be hungrier this playoffs considering the way they went out last year and will be dying to match up against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. And in that AFC Championship game, I have the Bills finally getting over that hump and conquering Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes beat them in the 2020 AFC Championship game, beat them last year in the divisional, and it would be absurd for Josh Allen to not get the best of Patrick Mahomes the third time around. Also, whoever wins MVP never wins the Super Bowl. At least it hasn't happened in over 20 years, and the last time it happened was 1999 with Kurt Warner and the Rams. Assuming Mahomes wins MVP, which he should, I believe that curse will keep on going. Which means my Super Bowl matchup prediction is the Bills versus the 49ers. Both teams have insane offensive power and are the top 2 ranked defensive teams in the NFL. Matchup-wise, this could possibly be the most even matchup we've seen in recent history. Both teams are very capable of winning this game. The Bills' defense can win this game. Josh Allen can win this game. The 49ers' defense can win this game. The Niners' offense can run through this game. All these units are more than capable of being the definitive factor upon the result. But I just have to roll with the 49ers. The Super Bowl will be held in Arizona, so you're definitely going to see a substantial amount of 49er fans, and essentially, it will be a home game for San Francisco. They've been to a Super Bowl before, just a few years ago, and after this George Kittle clip,
I will be back here. I will be back here, and I will be back with a vengeance.
I am predicting that George Kittle is going to win Super Bowl MVP with 2 touchdowns, and I have all the faith that Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, will be lifting that trophy Sunday, February 12th, which would be the ultimate ending to an incredible story. Thanks for watching. Let me know what your playoff predictions are. DM me on Instagram. Comment down below. I'm interested to see everyone's opinions. I cannot wait. Let's get started. Let's go. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Follow for more NFL content. Take care. It's playoff football time, baby.